is up. Thank you for joining the show. I want to take this opportunity to remind you that you can hit the like button during this video. It really helps me out. If you want to make sure your comment gets read, you can drop a super chat. Hit the $ near the chat box. It'll highlight your comment. You make a donation, it'll highlight your comment, and then I'll be sure to see it, and I will respond to it in kind. Basically, you jump to the front of the line, essentially, is what happens. But what we're going to talk about in tonight's show, couple different topics. First of all, we're going to talk about a huge news story that broke really last night, and I didn't have a chance to cover yet, but it broke. It's regarding West Virginia and their commitment to supporting athletics at the university. And I'm going to talk about ways they can do this, why it's so important, and I'm going to share at least part of the announcement with you. We're also going to talk about the West Virginia defensive line was honored by the Big 12 Conference. We're going to talk about that, may look at a few PFF grades and some stats from the Pitt game. And then we're going to do the very first edition of the You Call show, or You Call segment, where I take your voicemails, play them on the air, and then respond to them accordingly. And just a reminder, you can call the voicemail line and leave me a message, and I will hopefully cover yours on a show in the future. But the number to call is, again, leave your question or comment on voicemail. Call 304-712-9347. Again, the Couz Corner voicemail line is 304-712-9347, and I will choose the best voicemails of the bunch and play them on a show. All right, now, first topic at hand. West Virginia commits to athletics at the highest level possible. They want them to be one of the top tier teams in the Big 12 financially, from a financial support perspective. And I'm going to go ahead and read you a portion. This is the article over at my site that I credited to the West Virginia Athletics communications page. It came from there. It says, at a time of profound change in college athletics, the West Virginia University Board of Governors voted unanimously for a resolution in support of WVU athletics, calling for the development of a financial plan that positions the university in the top funding tier among Big 12 institutions, while simultaneously strengthening the university's paramount core academic mission. This is a quote from the chair of the Board of Governors at West Virginia, Mr. Robert Rusty Hudson. He says, a strong and visible athletics program is essential to advancing student enrollment, enriching the student experience, strengthening alumni and donor engagement, supporting recruitment of talented faculty and staff, and providing a source of pride and connection for Mountaineer fans in West Virginia and around the world. The article goes on to say the resolution directs athletics leadership to be in regular collaboration with the Board of Governors to develop and present a financial operational plan that not only strengthens athletics, but also the university's paramount core academic mission. And here's what Ren Baker had to say, the Vice President and Director of Athletics. WVU Athletics is at a pivotal moment as we enter a new era of college sports. And with the steadfast support of our Board of Governors through this resolution, we will be positioned to meet that moment from a place of strength. WVU Athletics serves as a source of pride to our state. It bolsters our brand, and it connects our 210,000-plus Mountaineers around the world to the university they know and love. We look forward to a trajectory of continued success for our student athletes as our Board of Governors, university administration, committed alumni, and corporate partners rally together to build a future, end quote. Now, this is huge. This means that the board, now it didn't give any details as to what they're going to do, but I think that's the first step was this resolution. But here are their future plans as far as, next steps in this thing. It says, and this is at the bottom of the article, it says, now therefore be it resolved that the West Virginia University Board of Governors hereby directs university and athletics leadership in regular collaboration with the WVU board to develop and present to the board at its February 2026 meeting a financial and operational plan that positions WVU athletics in the top funding tier among Big 12 institutions, while simultaneously strengthening the university's paramount core academic mission, and report to the board on the development of that plan at the board's November 2025 and December 2025 meetings. So basically, at the November and December meetings, they want to hear, okay, how are you coming along with the development of this plan to make West Virginia or to put West Virginia in the top funding tier among Big 12 institutions. Update us on the development of this plan. And then in the 2026 meeting, the entire plan is going to be presented to the board. And then they'll obviously have to vote on it, right? But at least what this does, it's the board giving its blessing to Wren Baker and the athletic department to say, hey, you guys go do what you need to do to make sure that West Virginia is in the highest funding tier in the Big 12. Now, I saw Locked On Cougars, which is the BYU edition with Jake Hatch. I heard he talked about it on his show this morning. This is actually getting some attention. And he was kind of talking about how, and he wasn't bashing West Virginia or anything, but he was kind of painting it in a negative light, like, well, BYU's already there. West Virginia's trying to catch up with BYU and yada yada. And there's truth to that. Don't get me wrong. And he mentioned West Virginia, that BYU has over 450,000 alumni or whatever, and yada yada yada. But what Jake Hatch and others don't understand about West Virginia's fan base, a huge portion of West Virginia's fan base did not go to school at WVU. So you cannot just look at the number of alumni, which apparently is 210,000, and use that as your reference point. West Virginia, and some people make fun of this, but they're kind of some people look at this as a negative comment. I don't really know what else to say it, but a lot of Walmart fans. What that means, you have a lot of people who didn't go to school at West Virginia, but they cheer for the team, and they'll go to Walmart and buy a T-shirt or a hat or whatever. I didn't go to West Virginia University because I chose to go to a smaller school closer to my house, right? But I have been a West Virginia Mountaineer fan since I was old enough to watch sports because it's my home state that I was born in, raised in, have lived in my entire life, and that I absolutely adore. So, yes, I cheer for the name, West Virginia. That's what I cheer for, and anybody representing it. There are a lot of us out there. There's a large percentage of West Virginians that didn't even go to college. And there are fans around the country, the world for that matter, who cheer for West Virginia, even if they didn't go to school there. So you can't look at but what this is going to do. Wren may come up with, he's mentioned, hey, maybe the fans get to buy into the program somehow. There are a lot of ways, that you could be a donor to the program through this new initiative that I just talked to them about the other day, where they're bringing their, Country Roads Trust is, being separated now from they're basically bringing NIL in-house, and Country Roads Trust is going to focus on Olympic sports, but all the NIL and everything for men's basketball, football, and those types of sports are going to be brought inside the athletic department through this new Gold and Blue Enterprises or whatever that they set up. Folks like myself and others can donate to this. And I'm sure there will be a lot of donors to this. So West Virginia, this is a great move for West Virginia. Wren Baker, I'm sure they will make. I've already seen a lot more advertisements, a lot more logos, corporate logos inside the stadium and outside the stadium. That was noticeable. They're making deals with mulch companies. They're making deals with, I don't remember, multiple different companies out there that they've made deals with. Planet Fitness, and several others that they're doing these sponsorship deals with. Swill Dog Bourbon, to name a few. And there are advertisements for all these companies at games. And those are just a few ways they can raise money. But now they're going to be able to get even more creative, find ways to increase revenue for the university. And the Board of Governors has given Wren Baker their blessing to go do what you need to do to make sure we're in the upper tier. Now, that's going to be tough because right now West Virginia is at or at least near the bottom of the Big 12 in revenue, in athletic spending. So how in the world can they catch up and be in the top tier? Now, it didn't say they had to be the top. They're not going to pass Texas Tech, I don't believe. I don't think we have a Cody Campbell. We do have a Ken Kendrick and a Pat McAfee and an Oliver Luck, who, by the way, I have on the thumbnail because he happens to now be on the Board of Governors. That's right. Oliver Luck, former AD, West Virginia alum, father of Andrew Luck. He's worked for NCAA. He's used to be commissioner of the XFL. one of the most well-connected people in the country when it comes to sports, is now on the Board of Governors. West Virginia Board of Governors is now full of people who understand the importance of athletics to the university. They hired a new president, Michael T. Benson, former college athlete himself, who understands the importance of athletics to a university. You've obviously got Ren Baker, who understands it. So if you've got the board, the president, now the AD, all working in unison, all pulling the rope in the same direction, try to make this thing work. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, what in the world can they do? Well, there's a lot of things they can do. They can try to go to the state for more money. How do they do that? I don't know. Will the legislature pass laws to help funnel state money to Western University athletics? I don't know. Might be tough to do. But there again, we've seen how big of a fan Patrick Morrisey is, the new governor of West Virginia sports. Can he somehow convince the legislature that, hey, this is important? He spoke in front of the Board of Governors the other day, along with Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark, by the way. I thought that was pretty unique. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But nonetheless, does he vouch for West Virginia sports and try to get more money from the state? There's also, I mentioned Oliver Luck being on the board now. There's, a guy by the name of Rob Alsop, who has now been hired back at West Virginia as basically the assistant AD or the deputy AD or whatever his title is. It's my understanding that he is pretty well connected in Charleston. That's the state capital. So maybe he can use some of his relationships to push for more funding for the athletic department. That may be what they hired him for, to leverage. I think he's a former attorney. He's well connected in Charleston. He seems to be well respected by those at the university. Rinbacker hired him for a reason. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's going to be critical in helping them get funding. They've talked about building more suites. There are a lot of different things they're looking to do to bring more revenue, selling naming rights, all these different things. But whatever they're going to do, they have now been given the blessing by the board, which is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. It has to be part of the equation, because if you don't have the board's blessing, you're wasting your time, right? So even though there's not a lot of detail in this resolution, as they're calling it, it is laying the groundwork and is step number one for WVU to go out here and try to raise more money and try to get themselves in the top half of the Big 12 in athletic funding. I think this is huge, folks. It's absolutely huge. If you want to stay competitive in today's world of big-time college sports, you have got to spend money. It's not even a question. It sucks that it's gotten to this point, but that's where we are. But here's the thing. Now, all schools in the Big 12 are going to see this, and which I'm sure they're all doing it anyway. But what ways can West Virginia find to differentiate themselves from other Big 12 schools? The state laws are part of that. You got to pass laws that, help your institution. There's a lot of different things around it, but by getting people like Oliver Luck on the board is a huge. I don't know if enough people have talked about how important that is to have somebody with his voice on the board, because he's going to understand. Heck, he helped him and Ken Kendrick were the founders of Country Roads Trust, the NIL Collective. He was former AD, like I mentioned, played quarterback in the NFL and at West Virginia. He's a Rhodes Scholar. Guy's an absolute freaking genius, He's going to be able to be a huge, and I'm sure he, and again, he's not the only board member, but I'm sure his voice carries pretty loudly in that room. At least I would imagine it does. So I want to share that story with you all. I don't, some of you may or may not have been aware of it. So I want to make sure I got that out there. Let me go ahead and next thing I want to talk about is the West Virginia defensive line being honored by Big 12. And they were awarded West Virginia D-line recognized. I was trying to think of what word to use in the banner. I forgot to put my banner together. Recognized by Big 12 for their play in the pit game. And here's why. I also did an article on that over at the site, wvsportschat.com. I recommend you go check it out. says WVU defensive line earns recognition from Big 12 Conference. Each week, the Big 12 Conference recognizes the league's top performers. Included in those weekly honors are the top offensive and defensive lines of the week. They call it the beef of the week, the Old Trapper Beef Jerky beef of the week. For week 3, the defensive line of the week went to WVU football. Zach Alley's unit held the Pitt Panthers to just 46 yards rushing in WVU's backyard brawl victory. The line finished with a season-high 6 sacks and tied its season-high with 8 tackles for loss. WVU has now held 2 of its 3 opponents to fewer than 100 yards on the ground this season. On the season so far, the Mountaineer defense is tied for second in the country in sacks with 13. They are 19th nationally in opponent third down percentage at .261 and tied for 14th in turnovers gained with 6. So this West Virginia defensive unit is doing great so far through the first 3 weeks. Again, they're top 2 in sacks, top 20 in opponent third down percentage, which is crucial. Top 14 in turnovers gained. Now, we're only 3 games in, and there's a long way to go. And one of those opponents was an FCS school. I get it. But they're still doing better than a lot of other teams who have played an equal or even lesser than schedule, or lesser than schedule. So I think that's noteworthy. I read off a few of the stats, but I decided to go a little bit deeper and look at some PFF grades, because I didn't really talk about them much in my last video. I talked more about the offensive line. But let's look at the defensive line from last game against Pitt. Edward Vesterinen, who played a lot of nose guard in this game, actually, because they went to that 3-3-5. He had a 59.9 overall grade, a 58.9 run defense grade, a 74.6 tackling grade, and a 58.4 rushing grade. Now, pass rush grade. I personally think that's a little low for him. Now, again, I'm no PFF grader, and I'm no expert, but it looked to me like he played higher or better than his grades there. Eddie Vesterino played a heck of a football game. I don't care what you say. But what you will see as I go through these is everyone on the D-line tackled really well. They all had tackling grades in the 70s. So when they get a hold of guys, they get them on the ground. And I think that's critical, especially in stopping the run. It makes it hard for running backs to get past the first level because they're not missing many tackles. Hammond Russell, 60.5 overall grade, 62.4 in the run game, 72.4 in tackling, and 56.7 in pass rush. Eddie Kelly Jr., 60.4 overall, 59.4 run defense, 73.6 in tackling, and 58.6 in pass rush. Devin Grant, the transfer from Incarnate Word, 65.8 overall, 68.6 run D, 74.8 in tackling, and 58.8 in the pass rush. And then Asani Redwood, 51.1 overall, 52.1 run D, 70.2 tackling, and 54.8 in pass rush. Now, those pass rushing grades are all in the 50s. And to my count, they had 1 sack, not 6. But they also had 3 hurries and 4 stops, which is basically any play that constitutes a failure by the offense. So sorry about that, but when doing more digging, what I discovered is I think they were including the Bandits in these numbers because West Virginia's Bandits had an absolutely marvelous game. The D-line played good, don't get me wrong, and I think they played better than some of these PFF grades bear out. But when you look at the play of the West Virginia Bandits, you have Braden Siders, only 58.2 overall. And, well, his grades are a little lower, but he still played a good game. 58.2 overall, 52.6 in run D, 45.9 in tackling, 59.2 in pass rush. But he had 5 pressures, a sack, a QB hit, and 3 QB hurries. That's pretty freaking good. Okay? Then you have Curtis Jones Jr., the sophomore, or redshirt freshman. He might even be a redshirt freshman. I'm not sure. Don't remember. 66.2 overall grade. Only a 35.1 tackling grade, but a 66 grade in pass rush. But he had 4 total pressures, a sack, a QB hit, 2 hurries, to go along with 3 stops. Like I said, that basically constitutes you basically blew up the play is essentially what that means. And by the way, Braden Siders had 2 of those as well. How about let's see, who was the other one? Marshawn Oxley. He didn't play a ton of snaps, but he had a good game as well. He only played in only 9 total snaps. He had 2 pressures and a sack and a hurry and a stop in only 9 snaps. Now remember, I think he's the one who got called for that roughing the passer, which I thought was absolutely ludicrous. So when you add in, and heck, they might even be counting the linebackers in his stats here. I don't know, because when you look at the sacks, PFF's only showing 5 sacks total for the entire team. 1 by Oxley, 1 by Jones, 1 by Carrico, 1 by Vestorinen. I thought he had 2. I think he might have had 2. And then 1 by Siders. So they're including the linebackers in this, apparently, in these stats. But nonetheless, the West Virginia D-line played a really good football game, and that includes their pass rushers, their bandits, their outside linebackers, whatever you want to call them. And just think about it. According to Coach Rodriguez, Jamoy Robinson will this weekend against Kansas. They're going to add one more weapon to that room. Curtis Jones is improving with each and every game. He's going to be and by the way, he's an in-state kid too, which makes it even more special. He's playing well. Braden Siders is playing well. Now Eddie Kelly's been playing well. Devin Grant, look at his numbers. He's playing well. This is the defensive side of the ball. If you look at the transfers that came over, I know Jones is not a transfer, but they have hit on a lot of these transfers on the defensive side of the football. Siders, Scruggs, Coates, Woods, Chase Wilson, Fred Perry, Darian Lewis, who already has 2 interceptions on the year. They're absolutely hitting home runs in a lot of these guys so far. Or at least triple. They're at least hitting doubles and triples with them, right? Jamoy Robinson was kind of the one big home run guy, at least on paper. But he's getting ready to come out and play his first game, so we'll see how that goes. But I thought you guys might be interested in hearing about the defensive line and how they were recognized by the Big 12. Real quick before I go any further, I almost forgot to do this. I have to take care of the housekeeping here and pay the bills. So here is I'm going to pause for a commercial break and hear from our sponsor over at DraftKings Sportsbook. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't let one bad leg haunt your parlay. Parlays turn into payouts, and now even near misses won't haunt your bet. The NFL season is here, and college football is now in full swing, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is rewriting the rules with Ghost Leg, a new game-changing promotion that turns close calls into cold, hard cash. Best of all, it's available to all DraftKings customers. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Couz, that's code Couz, C-O-U-Z, to unlock Ghost Leg, the promotion that makes one bad leg disappear and pays you out in real cash. Ghost your losses. Get your payout in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Opt in for single-use token. Minimum 3+ legs and minus 500 odds per leg. Max bet varies. If only one leg of the bet loses, bet will settle as if only the winning legs were placed and pays out in cash based on odds when the bet was placed. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. All right, thank you for letting me get through the housekeeping there and helping me pay the bills. I will address this real quick. I'd see some people in the comments talking about Zach Alley being the head coach in waiting. Not sure where that's coming from. I think that's just kind of some fans wishing it into existence. I heard Rich Rodriguez make a comment in an interview one time that he thinks he'd like to coach at least 10 more years. There is no way Zach Alley is going to wait 10 years to be a head coach if he's continues at the direction he's going, the trajectory he's going. No way he's waiting 10 years to be a head coach. I don't think. So I think we're barking up the wrong tree, trying to wish something into existence here. Let's just enjoy. Let's stop trying to predict the future and think about. Let's just enjoy him now being our DC. Hopefully he's our DC for several years, long enough to see this thing get to where Rich Rod wants it to go before we start crowning him head coach or whatever. Because Rich Rod, I don't think Rich Rod has any plans of retiring anytime soon. He's only 61 years old, y'all. He could coach for 10, 15 more years as long as he stays healthy and loves the game. And right now, he seems like he has plenty of energy. So, so barring some kind of health issues or whatever, Rich Rod could coach a long time. So let's just enjoy it right now and enjoy watching this defense play. And again, it's only 3, like somebody else pointed out, it's only 3 games in. So I don't want to anoint Zach Alley the best DC in the country or anything like that just yet. But he is doing a good job. There's no way to argue. I mean, this defense has made a complete turnaround from last year. I mean, I saw that in game 1 of the season when they were playing an FCS team. You could just see the way that they played. It just looked different, man. It was just different. So let's just enjoy that, okay? By the way, before I move on to topic number 3, which is where I play this voicemail to you guys and respond to it, I forgot to in the opening segment when I talked about West Virginia's board passing that resolution where WVU athletics wants to be in the top spending tier of the Big 12 in athletics. One of the things they could potentially do is go to the university and try to change the tuition waiver program. And I looked this up a little bit before coming on the show to make sure I had this right. But my understanding of tuition waivers is this: if let's just say the West Virginia football team recruits a young man out of another, let's just say, just theoretically, hypothetically, he's out of Ohio. Okay, they get a young man out of Ohio, normally, and he's on scholarship. Okay, normally his tuition he would have to pay out of state tuition. According to the tuition waiver program, they only have to pay in-state tuition for this young man. Now, he's on scholarship, so who's paying the tuition? Well, in this case, it's the school paying it, right? The school has to pay the cost of his tuition, but they're only paying it at the in-state level, not the out-of-state level, to where, students who aren't on these scholarships or tuition waivers, if you come in from another state, you have to pay more than the kids in-state, right? That's the way all schools work. All colleges do that. In-state always pays less than out-of-state. It's just the way it works. It's to try to try to keep your kids in state. That's why they do that. Well, in order to try to recruit athletes from other states into your school, they give them in-state tuition, which is paid by the university. Well, it's my understanding that the athletic department in the past has had to reimburse the school for the difference of those tuitions. For example, if a kid from Ohio comes on and he pays in-state tuition, well, whatever that gap is between out-of-state and in-state tuition, the athletic department had to turn around and repay that to the school. At least that's my understanding of how it works. Now, I could be, you can fact check me or correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that's my understanding. That's one way, and I'm pretty sure that has been talked about by Wren and probably Rob Alsop and others, and heck, they may have already implemented it. I don't know. But that is one way you can keep the cost down for the athletic department, and by basically not having to pay back the university for those tuition waivers. That's one thing they can do in addition to all the other fundraising arms and ideas that they've come up with lately, or looking to come up with anyway. So what I want to do now is show you the very first segment of You Call. This is a segment I'm going to do, like I said, where you can call in. And you can call in this number on the screen, which I'm going to post again. Leave a voicemail for me, and I will answer it on a future show. Today, I'm going to address a voicemail that was left to me by one of our paid VIP channel members. You've probably seen his name as Cheers Beers Mountaineers. He has been a long time paid channel member here, and he left a voicemail. I'm going to address it. I'm going to play it for you and then address it.
Hey, Couz, it's Browns and Beers, and then I'll get myself away to everyone else. Ben Safer here. Man, just what a game last night. Fantastic. Briefly meeting you there in the Blue Lot. Obviously, the invitation was always open to you, and it's open again in the future if you want to stop by. But man, just that game to me is why, with all due respect to the NFL, college football it is just the best form of the sport. Beautiful atmosphere, beautiful environment, and just what a tough, gritty way for a team to come back and get the win there. I mean, credit to Nico Markiel being benched and then, after only scoring 7 points in that first half and still just keeping that right mindset that when he went back into the game, that he was going to execute the offense just fantastically. And, what a result. So what a result. Great game by the defense. The boys stepped up when they needed to. Fan base needed this. The program needed this. Dare I say, I feel like the entire state needed this. Hope you're doing well. Hope you have some safe travels as well, and eat shit pit. Hey, Couz, it's Browns and Beers, and then I'll get.
I apologize to Browns and Beers for having his name wrong on the screen. I had I have a channel member by the name of Cheers Beers Mountaineers as well, and I guess I got those two mixed up in the moment. But anyway, I did get to meet Ben, aka Browns and Beers, at the game. Had a great time. Finally got to meet him in person, and I should have put the picture of it on here. But it was really cool to meet him, see him at his tailgate. He has one of the coolest tailgate setups in the entire Blue Lot. I think he's the only one flying a Big 12 flag, actually, as well, along with his West Virginia flag and others. But it was great meeting you, Browns and Beers. And yeah, man, it was the atmosphere. He mentioned atmosphere there. The atmosphere was absolutely awesome. It's right up there with the LSU game in 2011. I think I said that in my post game show. Other than in my post game show, I forgot what the year the game was against LSU, but it was 2011. I was at that game. That place was absolutely cranked up, loud. I think this one is right there with it. Obviously, I don't have a decibel meter to measure it, but just a feeling in the stadium. But this one was different because it was Pitt, number one. Number two, because Rich Rod was back. And then obviously, all the stories surrounding it with 9-13 and the whole bit. And then the fact that West Virginia winning the game made it even more special. But as I was sitting there, and I think I forgot to mention this in my post game show, but as I was sitting there at one moment and West Virginia was down, you're starting to get discouraged, but you're still hopeful because, you're like, man, the defense is still playing pretty good. We're still in it. He runs a hurry up offense. We still got a chance, right? And it started, West Virginia makes that field goal to make it 24-17. And I look up and I see the sky is dark. And I thought to myself, there we could see some Morgantown magic tonight. I thought that something similar to that in my head. I'm like, could we get some magic tonight? Some Mountaineer Field magic after dark tonight, like we've seen in the past. I ain't gonna lie, I think I might have even whispered a little prayer to God, asking Him to let us pull this off, because I'm not ashamed to do that. And by gosh, we did. So the atmosphere was unbelievable, man. People didn't want to leave the stadium. They stood around and sang. So, Ben was totally right on that, the atmosphere. And he's right also about college football, man. Those games right there are what make college football so awesome. And yes, NFL football is great. I cheer for my Buffalo Bills, but man, I don't have anywhere near the passion. Like if I miss a Buffalo Bills game on a Sunday, it doesn't really bother me that bad. It is almost impossible for me to miss a West Virginia game and not be upset about it. If I have to miss a game, I'm usually upset about it. And I usually do everything in my power not to miss it, even if it means watching it on my phone somewhere, if I'm out somewhere or whatever, because I just do not want to miss the game. I love it that much. I'm not that passionate about the NFL. And I think a lot of us hardcore college football fans feel that way. And games like the backyard brawl are why, man. You've got the regional rivalries, the schools that are competing for students, competing for athletes. Only a few miles apart, man. It's just so special. And uh, you know, Browns and Beers hit it right on the nose. It's absolutely uh, wonderful experience, wonderful time. I had a great time. Glad I went. I now have a memory I can look back on for the rest of my life. And my daughter was there. We didn't sit in the same section, but she was there with her fiance. They had a great time. Something we can now share together. It was really cool. Again, reminder: if you want me to play your voicemail on the air on a future show, call 304-712-9347, and you can be on the next version of You Talk right here on Couz's Corner. All right, let's get to some comments here. Uh, Before I do that, though, I do want to give another quick shout out to another sponsor, Appalachia Digital. They are the designers of our website over at WVSportsChat.com. Go check out WV Sports Chat. They designed it. Appalachia Digital designed it. They did a fantastic job over there. They can design you a brand new website. If you're a content creator, if you own a small business, you want to build a website, check them out. They will do it for you. If you want to build a blog site, whatever, they can do it. If you already have a site, want to get it upgraded or want to get found easier on Google, they can do that too. Go to AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you, and they will take care of your needs. Let's go ahead and jump in. WVU Fan 13 in the house says, this Kansas game will be a huge test. Although Nico looked great when he came back in, we will have to play multiple QBs against Kansas for the better QB run plays. Maybe. I'm of the mindset that Nico can still run the football if in the right situation. He's not going to be the runner. I mean, we've seen Nico run the football before, y'all. It's not like he's never ran it before, and he ran it pretty well under Neil Brown. He's probably gained a little bit of weight, some muscle under Rich Rod's strength and conditioning program. May have slowed him down a little bit. That's fine. But I think he's still a good, decent runner. No, he's not blazing fast. But the problem with him running the ball, he's not fast and elusive enough to run it well without a hole to run through, right? And the offensive line hasn't been creating those holes to run through. He's not going to make a ton of plays on a scrambling situation because he's not shifty enough to do that, in my opinion, or fast enough. It's usually design runs for him, typically, or he drops back and they're, they don't see it coming and he can sneak through the middle real quick. But I just don't know that he's had enough room to do that because this offensive line is still trying to figure things out as well. If they can, and now also, if Ty Edwards can continue to perform well in the run game and they can continue to have to focus on him, that should open up some opportunities for Nico in the RPO, right? Because he'll fake a handoff or he'll hand it to Ty, hand it to Ty, and then boom, next thing you know, he's running it. But they're not expecting it because of the success Ty. It all ties in together. You've got to have a successful running game with your running back. You have to be able to throw the ball down the field to kind of open the box up a little bit. All of that works in tandem to give your quarterback an opportunity to run. Now, if you've got an elite athlete back there who can just make plays on his own, that's fine. Nico's not that guy. But I'll be honest. I haven't seen Jalen Henderson. I haven't seen him do anything spectacular either. Nor Scotty Fox. We did see Scotty Fox make that one great 59-yard run, but it was against Robert Morris late in the game, So I don't really – we got to take it for what it's worth. I still think Nico can run the football if everything else around him is working in tandem, if that makes sense. What job would I move to Morgantown for? Head coach? Yeah, maybe. People saying we need to lock up Zach Alley. I don't know, man. I don't know. $2 million a year is a lot for a defensive coordinator. Heck, Rich Rod's only making $3.5. But I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just don't know that they'll ever spend that much money. Trying to find a comment. I saw Daniel Gigax with a comment earlier I was trying to find. It was a great comment about here we go. This is the one I want to find. Daniel Gigax, another VIP member. He says, WVU could do what a lot of universities do, and the main campus takes over all, which is the university itself, takes over all athletic scholarships, not having the athletic department pay those scholarships. And maybe that's the tuition waiver thing that they're talking about. Maybe they don't make the athletic department pay back any scholarships. Maybe that was the whole. Again, I'm not totally well versed on this. I only know the basics. So maybe that's what they look to do, Daniel. Maybe Rob Alsop talks to the board, or athletic department talks to the board about that. Not sure if the state would have to approve that or not. Them being a state institution, I'm not sure how that would work. But again, I think they've got the pieces and the people in place. And now that they have alignment, everybody pulling the rope in the same direction, I think they can make some of these things happen. Yes, the balloons are back by accident, of course. Let me see. Yeah, I was muted earlier. My bad. Got Kelly McCord in the house. Ron Lowney, Sovereign 2161. Daniel Sargent in the house. WVU Fan 13 again says, the coolest part, all the games I've been to, very, very little left after they went up by 10, but no one wanted to leave after the game. Yeah. Yep. People were still hanging around even, 15, 20 minutes later, which is pretty cool. Yeah, please like and share. Thank you, Shaq. Everybody, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the algorithm. If you're watching on the replay, it helps there too. Please subscribe. I'm getting closer and closer to that 10K number. Need your help there as well. And then obviously sharing it with your friends helps. Go Mountaineers, go Cougs, go Big 12. Thank you, Houston Cougars Germany, who is has been a loyal supporter here on the channel as well. Daniel Gigax says, please get your friends and family to subscribe to Couz's channel. He is very close to 10K. All right, Daniel Sargent, great comment here. He says, who excuse me, he says, who I work for, we're building more seats onto Milan Pushkar Field in January of 2026. That is great information right there, brother. And painting weight room currently, and the seats that are getting added are where WVU comes out. More seats on the Milan Pushkar Field. Now, are these regular seats or are these like suites? Are these executive suites? Because if they're just regular seats, I don't really see the benefit, to be perfectly honest, because other than big games like Pitt, West Virginia has not been selling out anyway. So what is the need in adding, a few thousand more seats that you're not going to be able to sell? But if they're executive suites where they can, add more, increase, charge more money for them, it's a whole different deal. Golden Blue, dude, John Kelly, I was thinking about him on the way home Sunday. He would have been so happy about that win, man. He would have loved it, man. I got a feeling he would have also loved the fact Rich Rod was back. I think he was an advocate for that already, if I'm not mistaken. Shaggy of WV says, need the win this weekend. My local high school team sucks. In the NFL, Joe Burrow is injured again, so the Mountaineers better get it done. Man, Shaggy, you're having a rough year, man. Sorry about my high school teams. Well, I've got two high school teams. The one my kids go to and the one I went to. Obviously, I now cheer mostly for the one my kids go to because that's where I live. But they're actually undefeated right now. So, and I'm also a Buffalo fan. They're looking pretty darn good right now. So far, I'm having a pretty decent year when it comes to my football teams, but it could all go to hell in a handbasket. Browns and Beers, thank you, brother. He says, we'll also add to my NFL comment that to the people nationally who just care about the playoff race, I get it's what we're playing for, but tell me that game between two teams who likely won't be in. That chase didn't matter. Man, that's a great point. That is the beauty of college football. That game meant a lot to a lot of people, including us fans. I mean, the fact that you had grown men with tears welling up in their eyes over a football game. Now, my wife thinks that's ridiculous, but she also doesn't understand what it means to us. She's not a diehard like us. What other? I don't know. The only way I would ever do that over a NFL game is if the Buffalo Bills ever finally win the Super Bowl. I will probably cry if the Buffalo Bills finally win a Super Bowl. But I don't think any other game not going to mean that much to me. I mean, it means a lot. Don't get me wrong. I got angry last year and threw my remote, I think, when they lost to Kansas City. But that's beside the point. You get my point. I'm not going to care about it as much. Not a regular season game, especially. Only playoff games do I get that passionate about in the NFL. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. We got Dennon Reese, Ben Caldwell, Kelly McCourt, Shaq again, Bourbon Crazy in the house, another VIP member. Says we need to stay with Nico and keep the others on the bench. The other QBs don't have the accuracy we need. When you don't throw a lot, you have to have a QB who can make them count. That's another great point. If you're going to be a run-first team, when you do throw the football, you want it to be successful. Nico, I think right now is the best guy for that. Man, if he can build off of this performance, I hope he doesn't take a couple steps backward like he has. You know, he has a tendency to play good one game, bad the next, good, bad, good, bad. Can he be consistent now? Can he put together 2 good performances in a row? That'll be interesting to see. Man, what I eat for dinner is not agreeing with me, guys. I'm going to have to quit eating Panda Express. I love it, but man, it does not like me too much. I'm on the road traveling for work, and anytime we don't have a Panda Express where I live, and I love it. So so usually anytime I'm traveling out of town and there's one close by, I try to get it. Man, I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to do it. Anyway, Aaron Riffle Fishing says in Kitchen's podcast, someone commented Pitt can't even beat mid-tier P4 teams, and JJ enthusiastically agreed as if Pitt isn't a mid-tier P4 program. Pitt fans are delusional. Yeah, you know, JJ and I, you know, we respect each other. We do each other's shows and whatnot. But man, I tell you, he did not hold back in talking about West Virginia not on his show. You know, basically said we were terrible, and you know, but in his defense, he also, you know, said Pitt was too. So, but I do want to caution us as fans, like Tony Caridi said the other night on his show, or other day rather. It's never as good as it seems, and it's never as bad as it seems. You know, we all were down in the dumps after the Ohio loss, but it ended up not being that bad, right? We got to be careful. Pitt may not be a very good football team, y'all, and if that ends up being true, we might have just beaten a bad team at home in overtime. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's not the case. But we need to be careful not to just all of a sudden put and I don't think any of you in the chat are doing this, but I just think us as a fan base, we've got to be careful not to go out and say, "Oh, West Virginia's back." You know, they're not back yet. What is back is excitement. What is back is hope, optimism. But it needs to be cautious optimism, in my opinion. We don't need to, you know, say West Virginia's going here to win 9 or 10 games because I think Kansas is better than Pitt. Utah is probably better than Pitt. I think Texas Tech's probably better than Pitt. There are at least 3, if not 4 teams on the schedule that are better than Pitt, probably, if I had to guess. Now, maybe I may end up being wrong. The good thing is, though, West Virginia is also going to continue to get better. As a matter of fact, how do I want to explain this? I think their ceiling may be higher than Pitt's because they're full of so many new guys. Those new guys are going to get the room for improvement is higher. The ceiling is higher, if that makes sense. They have a much further way to go, where Pitt is probably sort of at a plateau because they don't have a ton of new guys, and they are what they are at this point. You know what I'm saying? Or West Virginia is still getting better and better and better and better every week. So that gives me hope. And just the style of football they play is fun to watch. That's back. I had fun watching Rich Rodriguez football. I was not having that much fun watching Neil Brown football. It was just not as fun, period. John Kelly says, Couz, do you think that we can wear teams down with those fast snaps, even if some of their rosters have more talent and experience at this point? Seems like it worked pretty good on Pitt. I do, John. And that's Rich Rod talks about that a lot. If they're the most if they're the most well-conditioned team in the country, they can wear teams down late. Now, in order to do that, though, you have to move the football. If you're getting 3 and out every time, it's not wearing anybody out but yourself and your own defense. That's why they didn't work against Ohio. But if you have success, especially in the running game, like they did against Pitt, yes, you can wear them down. That's why I'm so excited about Ty Edwards, man. To me, if you have a running back who can run the football in this offense, I think the sky's the limit, man. I really do, especially if the O-line keeps getting better. And look, even though their PFF grades weren't very high, I still think they played a better football game overall as a unit. there was, I think that, and I think the rushing. I mean, obviously Ty Edwards had a huge hand in that, but I think it was obvious when you see some of the holes and the creases they opened up. Those weren't there the previous couple games. PFF grades didn't necessarily show it, but I still think they played better as a unit. Didn't play great by any means, but they played better. Max Brown could still be having hamstring issues. You're right. Any interest in going after Virginia Tech or UCLA line or running back transfers? Maybe WV Fan 13. We'll see. Right now, I haven't seen but one player's name plans to enter the portal from Tech, but I obviously don't follow those programs that closely. If you guys know more than that, let me know. I would love to get Kyle Altuner back. I think that young man has a bright future. I think he might be an NFL lineman at some point. Obviously, would love to get Tomas Remack back, but I'm not sure he'll have any eligibility left. So it's probably not, unless he decides to enter the portal in red shirt, he won't have any eligibility because he played as a freshman. Would Rich Rod even take him back after leaving? Not sure. But there were also some. I think Sullivan Weidman also went. They've got some other linemen there too that played at West Virginia. Who knows? If Rich Rod thinks they're good enough and wants them back, then I would obviously gladly accept them back. And same goes with UCLA players. If he thinks there's some of those guys that can do it, let's do it. Daniel Sargent says, have been a part of building Ruby Hospital, WV Coliseum. The baseball field was able to lay all the brick and put my name into the wall in the center field. And, of course, WVU football field in Kentucky and Penn State. That's awesome, Daniel. It's great to know, man. You and I need to I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually a sales rep in the construction materials industry. I wouldn't sell directly to you or your company, but I probably sell to some of the companies you buy from. Moral of the story is we may have some things in common and may know some of the same people. Yeah, 13-point spread against Kansas. Isn't that crazy? But that's something Rich Rod can use as a motivator. Absolutely. Jeremiah Bostic in the house. Veritax. It's hard to know how much Virginia Tech's problems is lack of talent or just coaching. That is not inspiring. They did not look good or controlled or disciplined all game against Old Dominion. And what gets me is how bad Tomas Remack has looked. Now, they did move him out to tackle. But at West Virginia, man, he was grading out very well most games. He has not been grading out well or playing well at Virginia Tech for whatever reason. Now, it's a different system, different team. Maybe he wouldn't have played well at West Virginia either because of the different system. I don't know. Because like Rich Rod keeps saying, all these guys are freshmen in that system. He would have been as well. What's wrong with my audio? Is my audio bad? Anyway, I saw the audio comment. I am excited to watch Jamori too, Tosh. Absolutely. Absolutely. My evening is going well, Chris. I appreciate you thinking about me, brother. We've got Charles in the house as well. Curtis D at 316. Wants to see more than 9 offensive linemen on the field. Hey, you know what I was thinking about, Curtis? Do you remember that clip that went out during fall camp? Or maybe in spring ball, I can't remember at this point, of Nick Cray making that one-handed catch in the end zone? What if they line him up back there as one of those backs and run him out for a pass? Think about it. Think about it. Oh, man, did they have to pause the stream because some pit player fell on the turf? Did I lose you guys or something? If so, I'm sorry. I might be I am at a hotel, so I don't know how good the internet is here. Daniel Gigak says Virginia Tech has been a mess for years. They have. Really ever since, they were good for 1 or 2 years after Beamer left, but once all of his players cycled through, they were no good. And they've been going downhill ever since. Who's your favorite college football broadcaster? I'll be honest. I mean, I'd be biased and say Tony Caridi, I guess, but from a national perspective, I like the Fox Noon Crew with Joel Klatt and I can't think of the other guy's name. That Joel Klatt, the guys that did the Texas West Virginia game with Will Greer and the pass. I like that. Those two guys. Those are probably my favorites right now. Yes, Tosh, great point. Gus Johnson, thank you. I love Gus Johnson. He's my favorite. and I think he and Joel Klatt make a great team. We will be playing against Trey Lathan, and Trey Lathan's having a great year right now. He's playing really, really well at Kansas, by the way. But it'll be. I'm sure he's looking forward to meeting up with some of his old teammates after the game, of course. Right Cycle works on the house, says, I'm curious to see if Kansas has the same pit injury bug this weekend. Me too. William in the house says, wow, did you see the throwback uniforms that they will wear against Utah? They are, in my opinion, the best uniforms I've ever seen the football team wear, period. They're awesome. I like them too. That QB can scramble on that D is tight for ODU. Yep. Virginia Tech's in a similar situation as West Virginia money-wise, except I'm not sure their state laws allow them as much help from the state as other states do. That's why I think West Virginia's going to have to lean some on the legislature to probably help them out a little bit. But again, with Patrick Morrissey there, who seems to be a huge advocate for WVU and even a huge fan at times, he seems like a fanboy at times, to be honest, instead of a governor. But I'm okay with that because I want him to support West. I want him to do everything he can to support West Virginia athletics as a fan myself. But that being said, maybe they can, they've passed some NIL laws to help. Maybe they can do some other things next session to help even more as far as West Virginia athletics goes. Anyway, you see one more time, you see the number scrolling on the bottom of your screen. That's the number you can call. You can call and leave me a voicemail at 304-712-9347, just like Browns and Beers did. Leave me your message. I will respond to the best messages live on a show. And obviously, if you're a paid VIP member, you will get first priority on your messages. All right. I want to remind you one more time, too, about SWVLE. It's a browser extension you can get on your computer where you can get all of my content, or really not just me, but any site's content you want right on your homepage through your browser extension. You can go to SWVLE. There's what my page looks like right there. As you can see, I follow WVU Sports. But my page, the Couz's Corner page, as you can see, it has all of my YouTube channel content right there. Then you scroll down, it has my Instagram account, it has my X account, and there's even a place where you can go here to links. Or no, that's a referral. That's the wrong button. I hit the wrong button, folks. Anyway, there's somewhere in there where you can go to links, and it'll take you to my website as well. But anyway, if you want to get access Couz's Corner right on your homepage, you go to SWVLE.com. It's SWVLE.com. Find Couz's Corner, follow me, and then make sure you add SWVLE as your browser extension, and you can get all this stuff right here on your homepage. As soon as you open your browser, your computer, right there will be Couz's Corner. Pretty easy and pretty neat to do if you want to keep up with what's going on here at the channel. But anyway, I thank everybody for tuning in. I have to get prepared. I'm actually doing an interview with a Kansas reporter here in a few minutes. I need to get ready for. But I appreciate everybody jumping on the show. Be on the lookout for the video tomorrow with the Kansas reporter. He's going to educate us a little bit about the Jayhawks. But thanks again. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on your way out. Please don't forget to share it with your family and friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for your continued support. Let's go Mountaineers. God bless you, and Q Country Roads.